This is episode 211 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Jose Berlanga. Jose has been in the real estate industry for almost 30 years. He was the CEO of several construction companies dedicated to investing, designing, developing residential projects in Houston. And now he is also the author of the book, The Business of Home Building: How to Start and Operate a Residential Construction Company. Jose, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jonathan. Great to see you. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to see you too, and to get your wealth of experience on the developmental end here. But going back, so we both had experiences with our parents and real estate growing up, but I think yours was a little different than mine. How did you learn from your dad what to do and what not to do when you got into real estate?
Interesting. You bring up my dad, who,
I grew up running around with my dad to properties. So a lot of times knowing that your background started with a parent, it's always like your intro to real estate, but it doesn't always go the straight line that people think.
it did not go on a straight line. My father was in a completely different industry. When I got
Yeah.
into real estate, I knew nothing about it. But I learned it's funny to bring up this subject, but
Yeah.
most of what I learned from my father in the real estate business was what not to do.
Right. Right.
He was not a savvy investor. He was a hardworking man that I admired. We had a great relationship. We worked, and as you mentioned, since I was a little kid, I used to love going to work with him,
Yeah.
hanging out with him, watching him, learning from him, but not in the real estate business. He was
Yeah.
more of just a businessman, a salesperson. He knew how to put deals together, but not necessarily how to be a full-blown investor or entrepreneur for that matter. So,
Y-
so I learned a little bit of what were the things to pay attention to and try to avoid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was kind of a buyer and you became an investor and then a developer, right? I mean, that was a difference between it. You were going to take the real estate part to a different level because he was in a different business.
Absolutely, he was in a completely different business, and back then, I think that real estate was for a very specific type of investor back in a previous generation.
Yeah.
I don't think we were as aware of its meaning, of what it represented to our lives. Yes, people bought a home, they bought property. There was such a thing as rental income properties and things like that. But it wasn't the most popular, well-known medium of investing and growing wealth. And certainly it has grown to a crazy level now where it's just common knowledge. Real estate is just a form of building and retaining wealth. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the way it was in previous generations. It was not as self-explanatory as it is now.
We're having an affordable housing crisis. So everybody's looking for different ways to build, and new builds are capitalizing on that when they can, but they still have to be affordable because generally home prices are way higher than anybody expected. Do you see the
Yeah.
same principles at play now as when you started?
Well, a little bit. In some cases,
Yeah.
we continue to look for new neighborhoods, new options, where to build affordable housing. It's becoming difficult because the
Yeah.
costs, the construction costs, the labor, the land, everything is getting expensive. When we started building, I think the median price was, gosh, 100,000 or so. Now it's 400.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, 400 plus.
Yeah.
So now it's getting hard to find land where
Yeah.
you can build prices even in the 400s. So yes, inflation, of course, combine it with the current situation with interest rates, it's getting difficult. So there's a sector of buyers that are qualified, that are willing and able to buy a home, but they can't really find something that they can afford.
Yeah.
So back then, it was more about the location and in where you could build something that was attractive in these neighborhoods. Now it's just figuring out how to get to that number that works.
In a lot of places where A new builder will come in, the street will be basically all 3 bedrooms and 1 or 1.5 bath homes. And they take one, put a top on and turn it into a 5-3, but it way exceeds the neighborhood's possibility for the next 5 years. And it's a big house on a tiny lot.
Yeah,
So it doesn't, they're just thinking, well, money wise, someone's going to pay for it. It's a nice neighborhood, but it doesn't fit. All the values are trailing. Is that part of what you've seen as well over the years? Those are the mistakes that newer people made, not understanding, hey, we still need to match a neighborhood. We're just going to make a nicer version and keep some land there.
absolutely. There are so many things that have to go right. If one of them, if one aspect of the transaction goes wrong, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
But you nailed it. One of the key elements, perhaps the toughest trick, is to know exactly what to build at any given location.
Yeah.
What will support that market from a price point, quality, finishes, the details? What is your buyer? First of all, identifying your consumer.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
target audience? And then understanding what is your target audience willing to pay and what do they want to get in exchange for what you're offering at that particular price. And putting those together, new developers and new entrepreneurs either are the extremes. Either they're fearful to start a business, so they won't do it, or they're extremely confident and they get too aggressive. They think they're going to come in and show us all how it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
They think they're going to negotiate better, build for a lower price, a better product, and it's going to sell for more. And they come up with all these crazy projections that are unreasonable and unsustainable. And when they
Yeah.
don't happen, they leave the market. But they get overly ambitious in their expectations. So it's better to be conservative. And once you've done this enough times, you start getting closer to hitting your numbers and understanding what it means to be conservative in every transaction.
So Jose, so tell us, who should read your book. This is The Business of Home Building: How to Start and Operate a Residential Construction Company. Who can this book benefit? Because I know it's not just someone who says, hey, I just want to start a residential company. It's going to apply to a lot of people interested in real estate development.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote this book not with the intentions, obviously, of selling books. I just needed to unload all of this information
Yeah.
that I had accumulated. It was cathartic. It was it was a mental cleansing
Yeah.
process I needed to go through. And, um, and I wanted to make it very specific rather than just talking about the industry. Incidentally, I'm writing subsequent books that talk a little more general
Yeah.
about real estate. But this first book that I wrote, I wanted it to be very specific about what it is that I spend years doing. And who should buy it is also something that I've expressed to the people that I've talked to about this book. Any person who wants to start a business, any person who wants to buy property, brokers, agents who their natural inclination is to go from brokering to eventually investing and developing. Because in the book, I use this industry as an example, but it talks about entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
how to start a business, how to build a business. What are some of the things that I need to pay attention in the early stages, in the process, the growing pains, my mission, my vision, the understanding of what I'm doing and where I'm trying to get my business to get to. So I discuss it with this particular industry, but it's a book about entrepreneurship at the end of the day
Yeah.
that anybody can benefit from at some level. And I try to make it somewhat a little bit fun with some stories
Yeah.
of the good, the bad, and the ugly about the industry. I'm not an entrepreneur that either brags or that is arrogant about my trajectory. I'm very humble by it because it was very tough. And I talk about the difficulties. One of my favorite things to discuss is the adversities that we
Yeah.
face in the business world. I have not had an easy journey at all. It's been very, very tough for me to build companies and to reach any level of success. So I like to talk about that very as often as I can, to inspire entrepreneurs to understand that it's okay if you're struggling.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're going through a very, very tough time. Most of us go through it. And the only way to get out of this is to continue, to keep pushing. Life pushes back and you push forward, and you deal with problems as they come, one day at a time. And you fix 5 problems and you get 10 new ones.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
fix 10 new ones and you get 20 new ones. And that's just the way the business world is.